Okay, so now I'm going to go through, and on this slide, I came up with some topics and I came up with a bunch of ideas about possible ways I could research them further. So the first thing I'm going to do on this slide is I'm just going to go through and I'm going to copy and paste my 6 topics from here. So starting with fingerprints and get my 6 ideas in here. Okay, so now that I've copied those 6 things in there, in the second column, I'm going to go through and think about which ones do I already know a lot about, or when previewing on the previous slide, so when previewing on this slide, when I went through and found some research, or didn't even research, just previewed a little bit of research, which topics did I see had a lot of research available? So now if I look at these, as I was looking, I feel like I saw a lot of stuff about lying, and lie detectors. When I went through and I was previewing, I found some information about fingerprints, but I didn't find a whole lot about fingerprints. It is something that I'm interested in, but I think it might be something that I have a hard time finding a lot of research and background information on. There was a ton of stuff about food and drink and all the different things that go into making different types of foods and drinks. Self-esteem and gender, that was another one that I had a little bit of a hard time. I typed in science. I tried just searching in self-esteem. I tried just searching self-esteem and gender. I tried searching science fair projects with self-esteem, and that was just one. I'm super interested in it again, but I didn't find a whole lot of information. There was a lot of information about guitars and music, and there was also a lot of information about dogs. So then if I move to the next one here, which ones am I really passionate about researching? If I go down the list, fingerprints are something that's super interesting to me. I do like how they're used in like the crime scene shows, and I would be interested to learn a lot about that. But I feel like if I'm doing this project for a whole month, that might be something that I kind of lose steam on. Food and drink, I really do like cooking for my family. I like trying to figure out healthy food choices and how they affect how I'm feeling. So I really think that I could be pretty passionate about that. The lying and the lie detectors, I think this is something that's super interesting to me. Lately in the media, there's been a lot of talk about like fake news or about how to figure out if someone's lying or how do I figure out if something's credible. Also, that kind of ties back to those criminal shows that I really like to watch. So I think that would be something that I would be really passionate about, something I'd be super interested in learning about. The self-esteem and gender roles. Again, being a teacher, I feel like that's interesting to me and could help me better relate to some of my students or what they're going through. So I'm going to put that one here. I'm not super sure about it, but I think it possibly could be something. I'm just going to put a question mark here for this one. Guitars and music, same thing. I really like listening to music, but I feel like if I studied that for a whole month, I might get a little bit bored with it. I do like my dog. We just got a new puppy this year, and so learning a little bit of the science behind like his intelligence or like if different types of people have different dog preferences, I feel like that's something I could really get into researching. So now this last column, which ones would be easy to understand or easy to conduct an experiment on? So access to materials, time, effort, coordination with others. So this first part, easy for me to understand. Actually, as I look down the list, I feel like the 6 things that I picked, easy to understand means, am I going to be able to understand the information that I'm finding? Am I going to be able to understand what they're talking about and the language that's being used? So for all 6 of these, I feel like I have picked some topics that would be pretty easy for me to do. So I'm really going to focus on the second part, easy to conduct an experiment on. So that means, will I be able to have the materials to perform experiments and collect data? Will I have the time? Is it going to take me a lot of effort? Am I going to have to coordinate with a lot of other types of people? So as I looked at my list, fingerprints. Like I said, I feel like fingerprints are interesting. I feel like it would be kind of cool to see a correlation. But especially this year with not being able to look at people's fingerprints and not being able to see people and interact with people in a physical, like one-to-one way, I feel like that one might be a little bit hard because there's going to be a lot of coordination with other people that would be a little bit tricky for me. So I think that one's not going to be super easy for me to do. Then if I looked at food and drink, I feel like I could understand it, but it might be kind of hard to conduct an experiment using food and drink. I could send out surveys, but I kind of feel like if I wanted to do something with food and drink, a really good way to perform an experiment with that would be to actually have people taste things and see how, like what I was kind of leaning towards is wanting people to taste things or having them taste different things and seeing if different people have different types of preferences. So that would first of all take a lot of effort, and in the way that we're doing things right now, I just don't feel like I'd be able to give people food and drink to taste and ask them about their feelings. So I'm actually not going to put that one over here either. Lying and lie detector tests. So I think the lie detector part of it might be really tricky, but I feel like by using Zoom and maybe video conferencing, that I could pretty easily coordinate with some people to maybe be telling some lies and having some people maybe looking at if they could see clues or giveaways. So I'm actually going to put that one over here. I feel like that would be a really easy one for me to coordinate, especially using video chatting. Same thing, like self-esteem and gender. I feel like I'm going to put this one here too, because that would be a really easy one to send out a survey for. So that wouldn't take a whole lot of coordination with others, because I could just send out the survey and people could do it on their own time. I feel like I have access to a device to create the survey, so I feel like I could do that one. And then guitars and music. That one should be pretty easy because I feel like if I wanted to do something with guitars or sound or music or how it's affected by different types of things, that's actually something I could do by myself. I could try holding my guitar different ways. I could try playing it in different areas of my house. I could try sending people different types of music clips and seeing how they react. So I think that one would be super easy. Dogs. Now, dogs is a tricky one because I feel like we would have to coordinate with others, but again, this would be another one where I could send out a survey and ask people to perform different things with their dogs. Well, but actually without seeing the dogs and without me being the one to do the tasks with all the dogs, I feel like that's an added variable that might make my data not super reliable because there's different people performing or administering the test. So I'm actually going to take dogs away. All right, so now I have answered a few questions, and now on the next slide, I'm going to use these to help me figure out which of these topics I want to try studying.